Before you actually book that one-way ticket to Australia, please make sure you watch this video till the end. I am going to be giving you real life scenarios. I am going to give you 100% facts, and at the end of this video, you're going to know that coming to Australia is not just what you should do without doing your research. It is something you have to sit down and think about the best possible way to come into Australia. In this video, I am going to be telling you why you should not move to Australia on a temporal visa. I'm also going to be giving you more detailed, especially if you are currently in the UK or in a very good first world countries where things are actually working, but you just want something better and your choice is Australia, but you're trying to come to Australia on a temporal visa. You need to watch this video before you make that move. Hey everyone, welcome back again to my channel. My name is Dayo. I am a registered nurse currently practicing here in Australia. I moved to Australia September 2023, and it's been 1 whole year and some weeks since I moved, and I feel like I have seen a little bit, not a lot, but I've seen a little bit, and I want to give you my advice. I'd like to state that I am not an immigration agent. I am not a legal practitioner. I am not working for any government. Whatever I say in this video is from people's experiences and also from my own research, okay? So let me give you a bit of background. Before coming to Australia, I had the opportunity to come to Australia on a temporary visa, which I made a video about on this channel, and I told you guys I would not be going with it because I don't want to move on a temporary visa. This is because of the reasons I'm going to be listing here. And coming to Australia on a permanent residency visa and seeing how life is here, I'm 101% positive that I made the best decision to come into Australia as a permanent resident. I would want you to make that decision as well, as and not come into the trap of being a temporary resident here in Australia. The first thing I want to say is that there are many temporary visas, okay, but I'll mention in like the 482, which is temporary skill shortage visa, and the other ones I'm going to be listing on the screen, but the most popular ones for healthcare workers, especially nurses, are the 482 visa. So why should you not come into Australia on a 482 visa? Most especially if you're already in the UK. The first reason is it is not a permanent visa. As simple as it is. Look, you're already in the UK, probably you're on tier 2 visa, okay? Tier 2 visa is also similar to the 482 visa, but I tell you what, a tier 2 visa in the UK is much better than a 482 visa in Australia. First of all, this visa does not give you right to Medicare, which is like the NHS. You see how in the UK, once you are a nurse, whether you are a temporary resident or your permanent resident, as long as you have paid your IHS fee, I think they scrapped it for nurses. Nurses don't pay that anymore. But initially, as long as you've paid your IHS fee, you are entitled to NHS. It is not like that with the 482 visa, okay? With the 482 visa, you're not entitled to healthcare. What does that mean? If you fall sick, you are going to be paying out of pocket. Now, it's going to be worse if you're already someone who needs medical attention every now and then. It is going to be worse if you are a family, you have children. You know how children can be prone to many illnesses as compared to adults, or you are planning to give birth to children while you're here in Australia. You don't want to come in with a 482 visa, okay? Except you have plans to get a private insurance. By the way, coming into Australia with a 482 visa, it is compulsory you have a private insurance. That is non-negotiable, okay? However, even with private insurance, most people still have to pay out of pocket, and you don't get reimbursed for everything. Some insurance company are just going to reimburse you 50%, 70%. It depends on your insurance type. If you have comprehensive, good. If you don't have comprehensive, you're going to pay a lot out of pocket. And let me tell you something, healthcare in Australia is not cheap, okay? It's one of the most expensive. In fact, you know this already. It is not cheap. So please weigh your pros and cons and decide if 482 visa is for you, okay? However, if you're coming as a single person, you know you are healthy, touch wood, you don't fall sick during your stay as a 482 visa holder, that is fine. You can take the chances, but I would never advise you to do that because look, you can just fall sick anytime. You never can tell. This body, it's on its own sometimes. Even when you try to move it, it's not. So I'll tell you, if you're already in the UK, stick through it in the UK until you get a permanent residency visa. However, if you still want to come, I'm going to be telling you some benefit of the 482 visa at the end of this video. Okay, so make sure you stick to the end. The next reason why the 482 visa might not be the best option for you, especially if you're already in the UK, is that you are not sure of anything. Whilst the 482 visa has a pathway to residency, immigration rules changes every now and then. We all know this. Like, I've been out of the country for a while now, and every day immigration rules changes. You never can tell, especially Australia. Their immigration rules are one of the strictest ever, and I tell you, even the UK. But when it comes to Australia, their rules just changes every day. Like, sometimes they don't even give you notice. Okay, what if you come in as a 482 visa and then the next day you hear that you can no longer switch visa, you have to leave the country, or there's just something, you know, government rules changes. So I wouldn't say it is worth the risk, but this is just a message I have to pass. So yes, there is just too many uncertainty that comes with the 482 visa or other temporal visas. Okay, so please, if you're in the UK, stick through it and just get a PR before you come over to Australia. And the third reason why the 482 visa might not be the best option for you is that you are tied to an employer. You know, when you're in the UK, yes, you are tied to an employer, so you'll be like, oh, then it's not the same thing. On tier 2 visa, I have to work with this employer as well, so it's the same thing, I'll move. Come, let me tell you something. When you're on a 482 visa, you are not allowed to work all those extra agency shifts you are doing. You know, in the UK, oh, don't worry, just pick up 1 or 2 agency shifts a week. Here in Australia, if you peradventure come on a 482 visa, you are only allowed to work for that particular agency or that particular hospital or company that brought you to Australia. So it's not like, you can do extra 20 hours with this other agency and get more money. You can only pick extra hours with that employer. So if your employer is a care home and there's no shift for you, if your employer say, okay, we don't pay casual rates or just something, no, you are tied down to that employer. No extra shift with another employer, nothing like 20 hours, 10 hours, no. Even 1 hour, you are not allowed to work with another employer, just your employer. But you can take extra hours with your employer, but if they don't have it, it's just, that's what you're gonna face. So you see, weigh your options and see if this is something you want to do. The fourth reason why coming into Australia with a 482 visa might not be for you is that you don't have access to government support. You see childcare services, you see Centrelink, probably education subsidy, the Commonwealth supported scholarships. If you're a temporary resident, you don't have that. So everything you're going to be paying, you're going to be paying as an international student, as an international, as a foreigner. You are not classified as a permanent resident, which is same with the UK. However, just know that it is always better, okay, for you to come in with the PR. So if you're a nurse, you are eligible. So please calm down and do it the right way, so that you'll not come to Australia tomorrow and be crying, hey, UK is better, calm down. Come the right way, come correct, and you enjoy this beautiful country. Okay, another reason why I would not encourage you to come into Australia on a 482 visa is that it is expensive. Okay, now the visa would cost about 1,400 plus Australian dollar. It costs that much, and it is only valid for 2 years. Now, after the 2 years, you need to start looking for another employer. You need to start paying for another visa fee. At the end of the day, you find out that you spend more money. However, if you come on a permanent residency visa, you only get to pay 4,000 plus, and that is what you pay. You don't have to pay any visa fee anymore. You don't have to renew any visa. The next time you're going to be talking about paying anything to the government is when you're applying for your citizenship. So you see, it is at the end of the day, you save more money if you come on a permanent residency visa and not the 482 visa. Okay. The final reason why I'll tell you not to come into Australia on a 482 visa or any other temporary visa, especially if you are in the UK. Now, I'm saying this because if you're in Nigeria, this might not apply to you, because why not? You can come and survive. But always saying, while especially if you're in the UK, is because one, most of my audience are in the UK, and secondly, if you're in Africa or any other country, it might not apply to you, because you can easily come into Australia, you struggle your way in, and you'll be fine. Okay, but this video is going to benefit people in the UK because they've tested something better than where they are coming from. Okay, so they know how life is there, and coming here, you need more balance. Okay, that is the purpose of this video. But if you are in Nigeria, if you are in Ghana, you're in any other African country, please, if you see 482 visa, grab it and come. Okay, it is not that bad, but it can be better if you're already in the UK. Just balance yourself. I hope this video would not be misinterpreted. Okay, I'm only telling you the fact and how life is here. The final reason why I will not advise you to come into Australia with a temporary visa, especially the 482, is that you risk being exploited by your employer. Now, I know we're in a situation whereby, oh, you can report your employer to the government. We have a bootsman. You can call this. You can report your employer if they're trying to exploit you. But that's the fact. You are at risk of being exploited by your employer. You are highly at risk of being abused by your employer, because once they know that you are on a temporary visa, they'll be like, okay, if she does anyhow, she'll lose her license and they'll deport her. If she does anyhow, I'll sack her. She'll go back home. While this might not be clear to your eyes, or it might not be obvious, it is somehow subtle. Okay, if you speak to people who are on temporary visa, you know that they give them really terrible hours. Like, sometimes they tell them, oh, there is no slot for you to take your annual leave. They just make their working environment really bad, because they know they're on temporary visa. They don't have much choice. If they have to start looking for another employer to sponsor them, it will make them to just put off and just stick with the employer. So yes, you risk being exploited by your employer. So if you're already in the UK, you know how it is being on tier 2 visa. Just make sure that's your last experience of being under any employer. Okay, that's what I'm going to tell you. Now let's go over to the good part. Okay, as much as I say, oh, don't come to Australia with a 482 visa, I wouldn't lie that it also has a good part. Okay, if you decide to trash all my advice and say, Deyo, I have 2 heads, I want to come into Australia with a 482 visa, blah blah blah, yes, you can still come. What will you be enjoying on that visa if you finally come? The first thing is that you can come into Australia today and start your application for PRO today, or even before coming, you can already start your application. So it's not restricted like the UK, where if you're on 482 visa or if you're in tier 2 visa, you have to stay in the UK for 5 years before you apply for your PRO. Here, you can start your application for PRO as long as you qualify for it. So you don't have to live in Australia for a particular number of years before you qualify. No, there are other things. I've already done a video on how you can qualify for a PRO visa. I'll put the video under the comment section. So if you meet the requirement, even if you're on 482 visa, you can start your application immediately. Okay, the second advantage of coming to Australia with a 482 visa is that if you're already married or you have a partner, your partner is under your visa, your partner is not tied to any employer, your partner can work any hours they feel they are healthy enough to do. They work anywhere, any employer, any job. So you see, they are not restricted. So even if you as the primary applicant is restricted, your partner is not restricted. So that's a win-win if you ask me. Now, the final reason why 482 visa might still be good, or you can still come, is you are already counting towards your citizenship, even if you are on a 482 visa. Now, you know, if you come into Australia, even as a student or any visa, as long as that visa is legit, not tourist visa, or tourist visa is not a part, but any type of temporary visa at all, you're already counting towards your citizenship, because you need to have lived in Australia total of 4 years before you can apply for citizenship. Within that 4 years, one of that year, you must have lived as a permanent resident. So if you come into Australia, let's say 2023 on a 482 visa, 2023 482 visa, 2024 482 visa, maybe say 2025 still on a 482 visa, and you finally 2026 you get a PRO. After you finish 1 whole year on that PRO in 2026, you can now apply for an Australian citizenship. So you see, at the end of the day, your years towards the citizenship is already counting on a 482 visa. So what do you think? Let me know about your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think nurses that are already in the UK should come on a 482 visa, or just be patient like I did? Like I had to wait almost a whole year to finally come as a PR. However, I know that if I had gone with the first employer that offered me a 482 visa, I would have come into Australia within 8 months or even 6 months, give or take. So let me know. And I'd like to state that I met one of my subscribers. She's not a nurse, but she did come into Australia as a 482 visa, and she was like, Dayo, it is not easy. And she actually came in from the UK, okay? So she was like, she had known she would not have come into Australia with the 482 visa, and she would have waited in the UK to get PR before coming. And honestly, I felt bad, and I've had this thought in my mind. Like I've even said it on this channel before, but I've never made a separate video, a dedicated video talking about the downside of coming to Australia with the 482 visa. So I felt really bad, and that is one of the reasons why it prompted me to make this video finally, like a whole dedicated video for 482 visa. So she was like, she gave birth, and the amount of money she paid for giving birth here in Australia is actually very, very bad. Like even with a private insurance, she paid a whole lot, okay? So you see, at the end of the day, is it worth it? Especially if you already have a good job in the UK, you have to just think it through. But let me know about your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget, this video is not to discourage anybody. I've always told you how good Australia is. I will never lie to you as much as I can. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I'm telling you the real life story. I'm not to discourage you not to come to Australia, but to come right so that you enjoy it the same way every other person on permanent residency is enjoying it, okay? Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to share this video with your friend, and also don't forget to leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think it is still worth it, or do you think scrap that, I'm gonna wait and get my PR before finally coming to Australia? Until next time, I'll see you guys later.